Good evening, good morning, good night, good day. Wherever you're watching this transmission, 'tis I, Mike Martins, bringing you a very important transmission of trends in the housing market, broadcasting out of Merritt, British Columbia. Just setting up my interface here so I can see your comments as they roll. It is a Wednesday night here, but Thursday for the rest of the world. It is 8 p.m. local time. It is the 4th of July, 2018. Happy America Day to everyone out there. Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day, America Day, whatever you want to call it. Independence from England. Independence from the English. Anyways, today, trends in the housing market, guys. We need to start covering debt, household debt. The driving factors behind this debt that's going on right now. People forced to take second mortgages. People even forced to illegally take shadow third mortgages. And people just jumping into the hornet's nest, trying to save what they can or salvage what they can. Because you see, you're going to start seeing a lot of people at those parties that you used to go to last summer. I don't know if you remember those parties last summer where you were talked down to because you didn't own a house. Where you were talked down to because, hey, oh my God, he didn't buy? Really? You didn't buy? Oh my God, why didn't you buy? Well, look at it now. Aren't you glad you didn't buy? So, for all the people out there that didn't buy, this is for you. Mike of the Night, trends in the housing market, Wednesday night, Merritt, British Columbia. So let's go over those who didn't buy are laughing now. But will they still be invited to the parties anymore? That is the question. Because a lot of people, at the party, at the corners, or that was kind of segregated from the rest of the people talking, were the ones who didn't buy. Mr. Roboto is in the comment section, guys, with live trends in the housing market. Anyways, I want to kick off tonight with this very important story. Yes, they're raising rates. They're raising rates. Hopefully I could get Steve the plumber to call in before he goes to bed. But he's got some inside information about them, and going to raise rates tomorrow, or next week. I can't remember what day of July it's supposed to be. But Bank of Canada is looking to raise rates, and they might be raising rates. So we'll get Steve the plumber, if he's awake, to call in later in the show to give us his foretake on what's going on. So raising rates is basically the end of the party. The party's coming to an end, people, because the people that bought in at the wrong time now are suffering. July the 11th. Yes, Owen said it. July the 11th. My man Owen in the house. Hopefully he can come and visit me when it slows down. I need him to... I got a bit of electric work to go through this house. So Owen, if you're watching this, buddy, if you want to come and visit me, man, you can stay as long as you want for free, man. We can do some videos together. Get some electrical work done in the house. Anyways, move over Toronto and Vancouver, Montreal, the new housing market for Chinese real estate shoppers. This is from the Financial Post. Financial Post. Twai.com said Chinese buyers inquire about US $1.45 billion worth of Canadian property in 2017. Wow. $1.45 billion. I don't think Canadians even own that much. With the interest in Montreal growing 84.5%. Montreal, here we come. Montreal, here we come. Okay, so there's a bit of music in this. I'm just going to read to you. How affordable is it to own a home in Canada? A study, RBC, says that the housing affordability Canadian home buyers saw in late 2017 was short-lived, and that it slipped away in the first quarter of 2018. The average Canadian who purchased a home in the first quarter needed to allocate 48.4% of their income to carry the costs of the home. At the end of the affordability streak, the mainly caused the increase in mortgage rates, which outpatched higher homes. Higher interest rate, a third straight raise in interest rates raised the price of ownership costs in Saskatoon, Ottawa, Halifax, and St. John's increases with the latest. Wow, I can't even read that fast. The crisis zone. Toronto and Vancouver spend a majority of their household income to cover ownership costs. Toronto started at 74.2% and Vancouver 87.4% of their income. So guys, 87.4% of your income, you're eating cardboard. You can't afford to eat. You can't afford to eat if you are how could 87% of your income? Is that your gross income? Because then you're living off credit cards. Because I read an article the other day about that same thing, 87.4, and then it was 670 something point of your income goes towards housing expenses. Does that include property tax and housing expenses? I hope it does. And strata fees? Oh, it says 87% for interest. Oh, basically, it's basically going everything towards... Okay, so you're not paying the damn thing down is what's happening. Montreal was the hot Canadian real estate market for Chinese nationals. Last year, as interest slipped in Toronto and Vancouver following the introduction of foreign buyers tax, says the report from the website for buyers of overseas properties. Jowie.com said Chinese buyer inquiries about 1.45 billion worth of Canadian properties in 2017. 1.45 billion. You know what I'm saying? I want to become a Canadian nationalist. Look all nice. Put the illusion tie on it. I call it the illusion tie. Put on a tie, right? Just to give off the illusion that you are somebody respected in the community. And wear that illusional tie. Anyways. So interest in Montreal grew by 84.5% in 2017, 43.3% a year earlier. Consideration of properties in Canada's largest city dropped by 25% 2017, nearly doubling 2015 and 2016. That means Toronto, people. So move over Toronto and Vancouver, Montreal, the new housing market for Chinese real estate shoppers. That's from the Financial Post. Anyways, guys, I'm getting signals here that my video output is low. I'm not sure why. Walking Journey in the house, people. Walking Journey, 2-time world champion here on my channel. And he'll probably go live after my stream. Not too sure yet. So check local listings. But I'm getting video low output. So it's not getting a healthy stream here. Maybe if I stop paying my internet bill, they might give me better internet. Maybe stop paying my internet bill. Yeah, Walking Journey also has a backup channel, guys. Don't forget. Vancouver housing supply jumps as demand falls. I thought this was supply versus demand, not demand versus supply. Or is it supply versus demand without supply creating the demand? Gordon Smith says, Mike, you present the news better than professionals on TV. Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Ryan Dimmer, yeah, interest-only mortgages at 35 points down. So everyone's getting into the conversation here. It is a Wednesday night, hump night. It is hump night, people. Tomorrow's already Thursday, halfway through the week. Vancouver housing supply jumps as demand falls. Thought it was supply jumps because demand's up, but supply is low because demand is high? Or is it demand is low because supply is high? Or is it a bunch of crap they're trying to feed you? But all I know is that the tide is high. And I'm holding on. And I'm not going to pay these crazy prices for a house, and I can tell you that right now. Home sales across the Greater Vancouver fell. Long-term averages in June, according to Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver, data released on July the 4th. Home sales were 28.7% lower than the 10-year June average last month, with a total of 2,425 homes changing ownership. Wow, that's pretty low. That is a 37.7% drop compared to the 3,893 homes sold the same month last year, and 14.4% lower than May, when 2,833 homes were sold. Meanwhile, as demand fallen, supply has had a chance to catch up and reached a 3-year high in the month. In June, 11,947 homes were listed for sale in Metro Vancouver, a jump 40.3% compared to the same period last year. So basically, if you get that same jump in another year, oh man, half a quarter, 2 quarters, you're looking at a lot of homes on the market. So what is the deal? What is the deal? Is it supply versus demand? Or is it demand versus supply? Or is it supply without the demand, creating the fake demand to push more supply? Or create more supply in green belts to create a false demand for people and construction companies to start building pre-builts? I think it's just a bunch of verbal diarrhea, if you ask me. Walkie Journey says, make what your thoughts on David Ramsey mortgage plan, 30% down, 15-year mortgage. That is good. 30% down is a good, healthy down payment. Okay? Because the more you put down, obviously, the less in finance charges you will pay. Right? 15-year mortgage is phenomenal. That's unheard of here in Canada. In Canada, they don't have those kind of mortgages. They have 8-year, 12, 15-year mortgages. They don't have that. Why would you ever pay a principal down with interest-only mortgages? That just increases the downside risk. Put the money into a market and still be able to capture the gain of home ownership. Right, Ryan, but that's if the prices of homes continue to go up. So if you're not making a dent in, you're not making a dent into the payments, I understand. I get it on a business perspective, but you have to be in very, very, very sure. You got to be very sure that your house is going to go up in price when mainly all houses are going down in price. And they're doing a really good job masking this. I got to give them that much. I got to give them really that much for that. Looks like they're trying to send Mises message to confuse the public. That's usually what the case is, right? Buyers are less active today. Fillmore President REGVBB said this is allowing the supply of homes for sale to accumulate to levels we haven't seen in the last few years. Rising interest rates, high prices, and more restrictive mortgage requirements are among the factors dampening homebuyer activity today. The benchmark price for all types across the region is now $1,093,000, up 9.5% a year over year. For detached homes, the price remained relatively stable over the past year, inching up 0.7% to $1.59 million. For apartments, the benchmark price is $704,000. For the attached home, prices increased 15.3%, $859,000. Remember, attached homes, townhomes, and condos are always going to see price jumps when the market starts to go crazy, because you get people jumping onto the cheaper products they could afford or could barely get into before they're priced out of the market or fear of being bought out. Owen says, sorry, Mr. Rebuttal. Mike, what do you think of Owen Bigland? I don't even know who that is. I think I've seen him in my feed once or twice. Owen saying, whoa, who is that? Owen Bigland is some guy that talks real estate, but he's more pro real estate. I think is going up. I think that's what it is. I'm not too sure. I've never seen any of his videos. Ryan Didamar says, what are your thoughts on Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba? I've been to all those provinces several times. I've been to almost every little town and city in most of those provinces. lot of unfound potential. The reason why I moved to Merritt, and it's like a dead town. Well, it's not a dead town, but it's a town because I see the potential there. Merritt has huge potential. Same thing with towns in Manitoba. Same things with towns in Alberta. When I went to Cameron, look at Cameron, Alberta. Cameron, Alberta. Fantastic city to live in. Phenomenal. No one ever talks about it. You know, it's never a town that comes up on people's lips. But there's lots of unfound potential growth in so many of these Canadian provinces. And I think this huge Canadian buyout that we're going through right now with foreign buyers buying up the Canadian proper, I think what's happening is we're moving inland and we're making these places better, or we're bringing or attributing to these places what we used to in the cities. And now those cities are missing out because now they got a bunch of investors that don't want to pay property tax. So it becomes, in the long run, I mean, it's good at the beginning because you're bringing in a lot of rich investors, but it's bad because they don't want to pay taxes, you know, so that's even worse. So, I wish Mike would eat a Pop-Tart while doing his live stream. That would be epic. So someone says... real estate bull, he does see short-term weakness coming in 2 years. So he's talking about where people see or where other YouTube channels are forecasting the housing market to go. It's unaffordable, period. Canadian proper can't afford it. Done. Canadian proper moves out to small towns, makes those places better. That's what's gonna happen. Don't make me bring up that Don't make me bring up this Douglas Todd article. I'll bring it up every time. It's here, black and white. Douglas Todd, Aboriginals and whites leaving Vancouver, Metro Vancouver. Aboriginals and whites are leaving Metro Vancouver for other regions of BC, particularly in the Fraser Valley. Here it goes. A net total of 9,345 whites and 460 Indigenous people have left Vancouver for other parts of the province in the 1 year ending July 2016. I want to see now July 2017 from the New Statistics Canada. I want to see what happened that next cycle year, because we already passed the next cycle year. So I want to know how many more have left the coast. So this is a big deal, guys. You have no idea. Oh, real estate's going to go here. Housing is going to go this. It's a bull market. It's going to make a... It doesn't matter. The Canadian proper, the middle class, the working poor is bought out. Finished. It becomes a playground for the rich, and no one wants to be there. Cities become miserable ghost towns, and everybody hates each other. Canadian credit is decelerating. Mortgage growth falls to lowest rate in 17 years. Canadian real estate sales are feeling the pinch of higher interest rates, and consumer credit isn't far behind. Bank of Canada numbers show that household debt printed in new record high. Despite record high, a rate of growth continues to slow for consumer debt levels, and deceleration growth is yet another indicator that the credit cycle has peaked. Credit cycles 101. We don't have to go through that. Canadian households credit is up 4%. You don't think that's a lot, eh? Okay, watch this. Canadians hitting new all-time high for household debt. A total debt of all institutional lenders hit $2.119 trillion at the end of May, up 4.1% compared to last year. Resident mortgages represent $1.5 trillion of the debt pile, up to 4.41% of consumer credit represented the other $608 billion, up 4.42%. If you've been following these numbers closely, you will have noticed that the rate growth is slowing quickly. So there it is. Mortgage debt in millions. So that's billions, eh? So that goes up to the billions there. Here it is here. Wow. Wow, look at that. Canadian mortgage growth rate drops 30%. I read this article the other day. The big takeaway, rapidly decelerating growth in mortgage credits. The growth rate in outstanding mortgage credit fell 4.14%, nearly a third lower than the same month last year. Consumer credit falling 4.42%. Seems a lot less severe, in contrast, falling just 4% from last year. From context, mortgages are now at the slowest level growth Since August 2001, that's 16 years ago, my people. 17 years ago, my people. The rate of consumer credit growth is now at April 2017 levels. Historically, both growth rates have only dropped together before and after the recession. So here we go. Here's the mortgage. So mortgages on the books. No more, nothing being put on the books anymore, eh? Once the government or anybody starts stepping in and started creating these institutions, hey, what are you doing? Why are you putting this on the books? Why are you doing this? Where's his ID on file? How come you don't have a T4 in this file? How did you do this mortgage? Boom, boom, boom. Banks are gonna have to rebuy mortgages back or repay loans back because they're not keeping to compliance. And guess what happens when you don't get keep to compliance? You start getting audited, and once you start getting audited, what happens? Woo! You don't want to know once a bank starts getting audited. Woo! And then someone says, you should do comparisons showing the cap rates throughout government. Yeah, I should do that, actually. I have no problem doing that. And then someone says, negative cash flow for renting in Vancouver. People don't understand it. There's negative cash flow for rentals in Toronto, too. We need a reset button badly, says Owen. Here's the deal, guys. Negative cash flow means you're paying out of pocket towards something. So you buy a place as an investment property and you're going to rent it out. So it only covers everything except property tax or everything except strata fee and property tax. So you cover that out-of-pocket expense, hopefully, in return, that your property will go in value over time more than what you're putting in on the side. And it pays down, and your mortgage gets paid down over the years. But here's the problem with that. People are negative when it comes to that. Big negatives, I heard. Big negatives. I mean, people are putting in more than $700-800 a month to contribute just to keep their investment afloat. I would never pump $800 into something every month just to keep. It's like a dying stock. Okay, you got this dying stock. It's dying. It's an oil stock or something. It's going down. It's dying, and you keep pumping money into it. Hopefully, that would stimulate. But you're not. Your mind. You don't understand how many billions and trillions of dollars are behind it. But you think your $800 a month is going to stimulate that. That investment, and hopefully it might spark back up. Most of the times it don't. And then Walking Journey says, Money GPS has been copying you, Mike Martin's channel. Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of people mirroring my stuff. I just go with the flow, kind of do my own thing. You could tell that half the show isn't even prepared. I just throw some things together, what's happening, and go off a whim, because that's the problem with journalism nowadays. It's like you are monitored. You say something, you get cut off. You voice your own opinion, you get cut off. If you're a journalist nowadays, you are told what you are allowed to report. You're told what you're allowed to say. You are heavily shielded as a journalist nowadays. So, and then Owen says consumer debt is going up, which it is. And then it's negative to the economy to have these high real estate prices, economic terrorism. I call it economic takeover because we're losing the war. We are definitely losing the war right now, and our pockets aren't deep enough to retaliate. So we can't win this war. You know what I'm saying? Lots of stuff. So sounds like a zombie company, which many will fail when rates go up because they live off debt. And then Mike Hecker says, Martens! Let's keep going, guys. Let's finish this off. Canadians have been pushing new debt records for some time now. Decelerating growth, it's a good thing. However, correcting the deleveraging, a credit-driven economy is never easy road to go down. The Bank of Canada is going to have a tough time deciding whether they should be hiking rates later this month. I got an insider that spoke to an insider where his brother, sister, girlfriend knows a guy who basically found out that they might be raising rates on the 11th, and it's guaranteed. apparently they had some bank meetings where when people get together, instead of talking about the fraud they're been committing on the books and how they've been getting away with a whole bunch of crap, But like I was talking to one of my friends today, and I said, who do you trust anymore? You can't trust your bank. You can't trust your lender. You can't trust your mortgage. You can't trust your real estate. Who do you trust? You pay these people a percentage. You confide in them. It's like going to your barber and saying, okay, man, here's $20, man. I trust you to cut my hair. I really hope you do a good job this time. It's like, what? Owen's going to bed. Good night, Owen. And then Oates is saying, hey, guys. Hey, Mike, just arrived from Calgary. Oh, God bless Calgary. So how was that, Oates? Let us know how Calgary was. I was just there, too. A leverage used for Canadian real estate might be higher than we think. People often boast the quality of lending standards that support Canadian real estate. Every now and then, Leonard Invest, Joy Evans reminds us that it's not really the case. He recently posted a great example on his Twitter account, highlighting a Toronto home. The mansion, located in the city of Toronto, had a mortgage debt over 3 times the appraised value. Let's look at this damn thing. Holy crap. It's got 3 mortgages on it. First mortgage, Pillar Capital, $2.534 million. Second mortgage, B&M, $1.164 million. Third mortgage, World Finance and Moneygate, $6.8 million. Total value of mortgages, $10,499,000 large. Holy Christ. I don't even know if that's even legal. Only in Toronto would a house be assessed at $3.2 million and have a $10.499 million mortgages for unprecedented loan-to-value of 328%. So what do they think? This thing's going to keep going up for the next 100 years? Loan-to-value 328%? The junior lenders are now facing major losses. What, you don't say? 328% loan-to-value. So that's 2.28 times more than the value of than the actual value of the property. Holy smokes. That's got to be illegal, man. Let's focus on leverage. I just mentioned how leverage works. Your loan to value, basically. Sold for 3.5, worth 10 million. How is that even? So we went over the 3 mortgages already. There's a lot to take away from here, but Evans boiled it down to 3 key points. First, lenders were willing to go into a deal resulting in the loan to value substantially higher than 100%. Actually, they lent multiples on the property, which caused an unprecedented phenomena. Second, there are underwater homeowners in Toronto, despite the popular myth that's perpetuated. Third, these are private lenders, so the debt and default is not recorded on any government stat. The last point is that the most interesting, if you consider the rapid growth of largely unregulated private lending space. Toronto is increasingly turning to private mortgages. Of course they are! With all this lending stuff and stretch brackets and blah, blah, blah. So Oates is back in the comments saying, Calgary is empty, man. And the downtown was all under construction. You couldn't even drive from the construction. I love Banff, though. Also, I saw a bear running across and driving. Haha. Try going to... Did you go to Cameron, Alberta? It's just before Calgary. It's really nice there. And then Canadians in the comment section. So everyone's joining us tonight in the comment section. Greater Toronto private lender mortgage originations by quarter. So here it is. Private lender. Look at that. It's Q1 of 2018. Everyone's jumping onto private mortgages. Look at that. Q3 of 2017. Wow. That's all fine and dandy when prices expand, but that's not the case when liquidity dries up. Nearly 1 in 10 mortgage dollars borrowed in Greater Toronto are now from private lenders. That's 1 in 10. That's huge. There's no regulations on loan to value, and they're paying eye-watering interest rates. Yeah, 7.9%, 8.5%. I think it was 8.9 for an FMAR. FMAR means first mortgage. I think it was 8.9 for an FMAR. And 8.9 was the lowest rate that the private mortgage sector would... one of the private mortgage sectors I know, private lenders that were doing. 8.9. So on $100,000, you're paying almost $9,000 a year in finance charges. Oh. On $1 million, you're paying like 90 grand a year on $1 million bucks. Wow. They're paying eye-watering interest rates. I like that. Eye-watering interest rates. The recent buyers no longer just have few people with high risk tolerance. They're comps that determines your home price. Wow. That's an eye-watering that is an eye-watering article. There it is right there. Wow. LTV, 328 points. That's illegal. I know one financial institution, this was many years ago, that went like 7 points over the loan to value because the appraisal came back too low. So when the appraiser came back too low, they went over the loan to value and somehow got around the underwriter without them getting it approved properly. And then I remember that branch manager getting fired for that. So 328%. Predictably, the junior lenders are now facing major losses. This you guys have no idea. If you guys don't understand, but this is a big freaking deal. 328 points. So Oates is saying, when I started my journey to go to Calgary, I was in Merritt about 6 in the morning, so I couldn't visit. Sadly, but Merritt looks great, man. The smaller towns have potential. This is from ABC News, always broadcasting crap, from Australia. Credit card users struggling under mountain of debt that may never be repaid, ASIC reports. So remember ABC News always broadcasting crap, where the guys that brought you that white privilege crap video that the whole world was stunned? They even translated it into Portuguese, and they were showing it in Brazil, and everyone in Portugal too. Everyone was making fun of it. I'm thirsty, guys. Lemon water is good for you. Alkalinize your water, people, if you want to live longer. 1 in 6 consumers is struggling. 1 in 6. So if you're in a classroom with 36 people, 6 people are struggling to pay off their credit card. One in 6 consumers is struggling under a mountain of credit card debt that might never be repaid, according to alarming research by the Cooperative Regulatory. So these guys are pretty good, because what they do is they can look at credit scores, they can look at people's payment history, they could tell if someone's going to go under easy. I can look at someone's credit score. I look at the top left. First thing I see is the last and first name. Then to the right, I see the date, that the today's date. Then below it, I see the date, how long the credit score or the credit bureau has been on file. So you could tell just by the date that the oldest credit card he has, and you cross-reference it for how long he's been on file, you can easily see if there was any bankruptcies on file, if you find gaps. Then you move down, then you'll start to see credit cards. debitors, credit cards, auto loans, mortgages. And then you start to see on the right side of each debt, it starts to tell you how much they owe. And then if it has an R1, that means they're paid up. If it has an R2, R3, R6, then they're 60 days, 30 days, 20 days behind. It catches up every month when the Equifax resets its... your credit score or your credit bureau needs to reset every couple of weeks, because what happens is it needs to target any inquiries you make. So you'll have all your credits, all the credits you have, and on the right, you'll see your what you owe and stuff. And then below that, you'll see something called inquiries, INQ. Inquiries mean what you've applied for, okay? What you've applied for. And then it shows credit seeking. Usually when you go buy a car and you need to do financing through them, they usually do what they call a shotgun, some sort of a shotgun credit pull, where they just send out your credit to like 5 different banks or 6 different banks one time to see who approves you, right? The problem with that is if there's too many inquiries on your credit score, it brings down your credit score. So if you have too many inquiries on your credit bureau, it brings down your credit score. So that's something you got to keep in mind, people, when you're inquiring for a cell phone. They actually check your credit and they ding your credit like 5 points. You inquire for and what's really crappy about this is you have a phone, you've been paying it for 10 years. The second you miss a payment, you get a bad payment mark on your credit bureau. But if you make payments on your cell phone, it doesn't even show on your credit that you've been making payments for 30 years. But it shows if you don't make a payment. That's how one-sided credit scores are. Kenny the Farmer's here. So Oates is saying, I honestly don't have plans to live and work in Canada. You know what it is. I felt that way a lot. Living almost like I felt like it was almost a waste of life. Like there's so much out there to see and do, and it's almost like you're a slave to the money. So I kind of worked myself around, and trying to make the best and travel as much as I could. And this was when I was younger, and I traveled. I went everywhere, man. Kenny the Farmer says, bless you, bud. God bless you too, my friend. And so what's happening in Australia? Australian Securities and Investment Commission's ASIC report showed 18.5% of consumers who are overwhelmed with their credit card debt load, with outstanding balances now totaling $45 billion. $45 billion in debt. That's in credit card debt, guys. Someone's asking, Mike, how's your business? Is it oh, guys, I'm doing really well. I'm going to do an update for you guys. It's past my first year of business, July 1st. Happy Canada Day, by the way. First year in business, and the first year of my new business, I actually did not take a loss on my first year. I actually broke even on my first year, which is very unheard of. But something put me over, and that was my online sales. Because the amount of stock I have, I'm shipping things left and right online. And I'm undercutting a lot of other people online, and they're not getting happy with that. Anyways, let's keep going here. The study said banks and credit card companies were in the midst of a revenue bonanza, with the interest being repelled on $31.7 billion of that $45 billion debt figure. ASIC warned that enticing credit card offers, notably balance transfers from one card to another, were a debt trap, with 550,000 people in arrears and 930,000 with persistent debts as of June 2017. Guys, when you get those things, unless you're consolidating your debt, so you're not paying a blended interest rate, it's fine. The problem is when you're paying one credit off with another, you're just paying Peter to pay Paul. It doesn't matter. Then the rates go up after their free term or whatever happens, and it becomes an absolute nightmare, guys. a nightmare. A review of 21.4 million credit card accounts. Wow. Open in 5 years. I mean, is there even 21 million people living in Australia? Holy crap. 21.4 million credit card accounts open in the 5 years to June last year. Estimated consumers could have saved 621 million in a single year if they had switched to more appropriate credit card with fewer frills and a lower interest rate. The revelations came from a financial institution's face daily heat from Banking Royal Commission, which has uncovered persistent, unethical, and, in some cases, unlawful behavior. This is like a bunch of illegal practices, if you ask me. So, someone's saying, I am using 0% credit card transfer cards as a free loan to expand my cash flow business, but be careful. It's a web you might fall into, that it's hard to get out. To counter the growing debt mountain that is lucrative for banks, but as bad for customers, ASIC proposed tougher regulations to ensure. Why are they putting an alarm on the car after the car gets robbed? Why are they putting these tough regulations on these credit cards now after everyone got screwed? It's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to get an alarm for my car because my car got stolen last week, so I'm putting an alarm on today. What's the point? ASIC Deputy Chairman Peter Kell said, despite the rules introduced in 2012, not all credit providers have taken proactive steps to counter persistent revolving debt. Look at that. 8.5% of consumers were struggling with their debt. That's 1.9 million consumers. That's a lot of people. What's that article I put up? Australia debt call. Debt info or debt call. Debt help. Phone number. There's one here. It is here. Overwhelmed, not sure what to do with debts. Yeah, so there's a lot of companies out there looking. I'm not sure which one it is. Debt Helpline Australia. There's so many. They're overwhelmed with so many calls. There it is. There's the phone numbers here. If you'd like to know more about different debt solution options, so that's like a bankruptcy probably, I don't know. But a lot of these, there's one actually that's put in place by the government of Australia for people to call in. They went from 17 operators to 146 operators in a matter of 1 year. 146 operators they went to through the government of Australia, basically, helping people. So, Steve the Plumber's in the house! Woo! So 17 operators. So this debt line here, it's not this one. There's one put in by the Australian government. And it's pretty sad how they went to 17 operators to, they're forecasting to 250 operators to attend to people's calls that are swimming or struggling in debt. So hopefully Steve the Plumber could call in, because he's got a debt discussion thingy to tell us about. His best friend's brother, sister, girlfriend heard from this guy who knows. And it would be nice to hear what he has to say about interest rates. So 890,000 plus consumers continue to struggle with debt. So guys, Australia's in a lot of problems. 45 billion in outstanding balances. But yo, guys, what is the best website for buying land in Canada? Just go to MLS.ca, and it's going to redirect you to Realtor.ca. Realtor.ca. It shows you comparables. It shows you how long the house has been on the market. It shows you square footage, everything. It shows you everything you need to know about the house. Realtor.ca or MLS.ca. So hopefully Steve the Plumber will call into the show. Hopefully he's watching right now. And Australia is in over their heads with the amount of people in credit card debt. 9 out of the 12 providers did not proactively contact consumers that made payments or near the minimum amount to repay their outstanding balance. So, I mean, you default. They don't even call you. They don't even call you. Then 8 out of 12 providers did not look for signs of potential consumer harm other than training frontline staff to look for signs of financial difficulty. That's the problem right there. A lot of people should be looking at what these people, because when you approve somebody or pre-approve somebody for a loan, what usually happens is you get to see their credit bureau when it was last pulled. It shows you all their credit cards and what they have and what they're owing and blah, blah, blah. 97% of the people you look up need credit counseling. They don't need more credit. That's the problem. 8 out of 12 providers did not look for signs of potential consumer harm, other than training frontline staff to look for signs or financial difficulty. So instead of consolidating people's debt and try to kind of bundle it up so it makes it easier for them to pay back, they're just adding on to the debt load. And Lost Canuck is here. Lost Canuck, 2-time world champ again on the channel here. Big time in Barrie, Ontario, guys. Don't forget to check out his channel. So this is a really big deal in Australia, guys. 1 out of 6 people are going to default on their credit card payments. And it's going to web out to 2 out of 6. And before you know it, half of Australia is going to be indebted. And that is, guys, this people don't understand how severe this is. $45 billion in credit card debt. That's not mortgages, that's credit card debt. Let's see what this one says. Australia's household debt crisis worse than ever as bills pile up and wages flatline. It's incredibly clinch, I know, but in Australia right now it's true. The rich are getting richer and the poor, well, you know the rest. We're talking credit card debt and mortgage repayments, but those bills are becoming harder and harder to meet as price of gas and electricity rises and wages continue to grow at a snail's pace. It's actually quite heartbreaking to witness. What do I say? Well, I recently spent some time at the Australian headquarters in the National Debt Helpline. There it is, National Debt Helpline. That's the phone number I was talking about, where they have hundreds and they're expanding to 250 operators now because 15 or 17 operators isn't proper. Lost Canuck says, how many people live in Australia? I think 35 million or 25 million. Oh my God, Anon's here from Down Under. Anon, I'm reading your stories, buddy. Reading your stories. Well, recently spent some time in Australia headquarters, National Debt Helpline in Sydney's Surrey Hills. It was my second visit as many months. Given this pretty much one of the last places many Australians turn to in state of financial distress, you can imagine who call in are not in a good way. So basically a lot of people calling in. So they had 17 operators to start. Now they're just over 200, just 100 and something operators, almost 200. And they're forecasting 250 operators by the end of this year to help take in calls of people that can't afford to pay back their debt. I had only taken a seat next to one of the helpline's financial counselors, Greg Russell, for a few seconds before Sarah, not her real name, called in. Sarah, in her early 20s, is from Blacktown in Sydney's southwest. She's illiterate, unemployed, and very upset because she can't pay her electricity bill. She's not alone. Mr. Russell told me that there had been a big increase in debt-distressed Australians calling the helpline in recent months, unable to pay their utility bills. Naturally, he explained, rent and mortgage repayments take priority over utility bills because in the order of survival priorities, you first need a roof over your head. So people pay the rent first because they don't want to get evicted, and then they pay the electricity, and then they pay the gas, right? Someone said, I didn't get a notification for livestream. Yeah, buddy. I'm one of those channels that's like borderline sketchy. You can't trust the guy with, you can't trust the guy that looks like me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not wearing a tie. You see, if I start wearing a tie on my channel, and I put on a tie, I give off the illusion that I'm a respectable person in the community, that you could trust me because I'm respectfully dressed and I respectfully play the part. But I'm not here to play no parts, people. I'm here to tell you what the hell is going on, because this is a nightmare. So, Lost Connect says, Mike, the biggest investment people should look into energy sector in the U.S. or Israel. Trust me on that. Yeah, I'm invested a bit in some oil right now. It's going up right now lately. And the pipeline, too. That deal went through. Yeah, Anon says the same thing. He's not getting notification. He's not getting notifications on my channel that I'm going live. It is what it is, people. You guys just have to, kind of wing it with me, because, I do everything by the book. I try to be as vanilla as possible so I don't get shut down. And I already told you guys, if I need to get a real estate license to continue to talk about real estate on YouTube, I'll get my real estate license for the sake of talking about real estate. And, it's not a big deal. I could even challenge it if I have to, because a lot of that on there I already know. You know what I'm saying? Record call volumes through Crisis Center. Generally speaking, through National Debt Helpline, told me the rising cost of living is becoming crippling. Utility bills, mortgage payments, and credit card debt are contributing to household financial stress. Last year, 150,000 calls were made to the National Debt Helpline. This year, monthly call volumes for Helpline are already 20% higher compared to 2016 based on current call volumes. NDH predicts there'll be another 182,000 calls this year. Households in debt distress and the mercy of the banks. Martin North is a principal financial research from Digital Financial Analysis. He crunched the numbers and calculated that in March of 3.1 million mortgaged households, around 22% were in mild mortgage stress. Hold on. 3.1 million? That's so many people. That's like 10% of Canada. That's 1.5% of February, and was directly related to even the smallest of interest rate increases by some of the big four banks. That means those households are managing to make up their mortgage repayments, but only by cutting back other expenditures or putting more credit cards and generally hunkering down. Then, there are those Australians under extreme levels of financial stress. Data from Digital Finance Analytics show 1% of households are in severe stress. That means they're behind with their repayments and are trying to dig their way out of refinancing, selling their property, or seeking help from services like National Debt Helpline. Caught up in credit card trap as debt piles up, but the rich are still sitting pretty. Remember what I told you guys about this housing crisis and this global financial problem we're having? Look at Deutsche Bank. Guys, pay attention. The poor, the dirt poor, will continue to be poor. They're used to it. The rich, they'll lose a couple of million, but they can still live off $12-15 million easy. It's the working poor that's going to suffer. The working poor, the middle class, that's going to have the nail in the coffin. And then Lost Connect says real estate agents are saying it is going all up by September. That's what's giving oxygen in a big lie. Lost Connect is true. He's right. He knows what he's talking about. Steve the Plumber says it's an open book exam. I don't need an open book exam for a real estate test. I could challenge it. I'll go challenge it without even reading I can't even read. I'll pass the test. And then Kenny the Farmer said it's not the clothes. Bit rather a dangerous message, brother. And then Lost Connect says, yes, house reduced and sign and bury. Yeah, I saw that video, guys. Check out Lost Connect's video where price reduced on housing. Signs around his area. Second house in my hood. Haven't sold in the last 2 weeks. What happened to the old bidding wars? Where are you, S? Are you in New Zealand or Canada? Where are you? S. Someone wants me to put the Guy Fieri headpiece. It's this hat I have, this Blue Jays hat with this fake white hair, and it looks pretty cool. So that's what's happening. Useful tips to help pay off your bills. I'm not going to read this because I don't trust any of this. Personal loan credit card spending jumps 4 times over the past 3 years. Guys, where is this? India. This is from India News. And that's what's happening in India. Consumers, personal loans. Why happening in India? Why? Because the middle class is growing there. India's finally getting cell phones they never had. They're finally getting electricity to everywhere they never had. Countries like India are lucrative for a lot of wealthy people to go down there and bring basic commodities or amenities to these countries. And why? And then people see the light at the end of the tunnel and they start taking out loans. And this is brought to you by New Delhi in India. So look at India. They're falling into the same debt trap. Personal loans surge to record high. This is the United States of America, people. Heather Turner and her husband needed a few $1,000s to jumpstart an adoption for a teenager from the Ukraine, and their timing was good. Lenders led by online firms have opened a spigot of personal loans, even if it comes at a steep price. Again, people taking out loans at crazy. Whoa. 18% in the first quarter, billion. Okay, I'm just looking at. I want to see what the rates were. So again, a lot of credit problems in the United States. This is more of a story, but personal loans set to record highs in the United States. Consumer lending category, according to the data from credit bureau TransUnion, which they use in the United States. According to the data from credit bureau, balances rose 18% in the first quarter to $120 billion. Fintech companies originated 36% of total personal loans in 2017, compared with less than 1% in 2010, Chicago-based TransUnion said. Is it a perfect loan? No, Turner said in the interview. We didn't expect some low-interest personal loan with no collateral. Yeah, watch out, guys. Your signature on paper might be the biggest thing you might sign in, biggest nightmare you might sign in your life. Remember what Donald Trump said? I went to a Donald Trump seminar in West Palm Beach before his apprentice show kicked off. And he said it. He said it in one of his things. When he was talking, he said, some of the best deals you'll ever make in your life are the ones you don't make at all. So guys, careful with some of the deals you make. You're better off not getting into some of the deals you think you're going to be lucrative on. Okay, guys, it's Steve. Hello?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you, Steve?
I'm doing all right. What's going on tonight, Mike?
Oh, I'm covering, I started off with, Toronto and Vancouver market, new housing market for Chinese real estate shoppers. Montreal is the new market for Chinese now. That's by the Financial Post. And then I jumped into Better Dwellings article, which was really good. Canadian mortgage debt is decelerating, so less mortgages on the books. And then Better Dwellings article, leverage used for Canadian real estate might be higher than we think. It's higher because of the unsecured debt. The shadow debt that people are getting into with second party and third party lenders. And then Australia's way out of control, man. 1 out of 6 Australians are going to go bankrupt on credit card debt. They can't afford to pay off their, they can't even pay their electricity.
And where are you getting that 1-in-6 ratio from? Is that actually publicized or?
Which one?
The 1-in-6.
Oh, it's right here. Right here. Oops, I had it here open. It's in here. If you go back in the video, you'll see it. No, it's not that one. I can't find it now. It's one in...
Not a big deal.
Yeah, it's here somewhere. Oh, I think it's this one here. Here it is. 1 in 6 consumers are struggling under a mountain of debt, mountain of credit card debt that might never be repaid. So a lot of like a good person that knows credits and looks at a credit score could determine whether that person will fall apart in 3, 6, or 9 months. Easy. By looking at someone's credit bureau. Okay, Steve, so you got a story for us, Steve.
Yeah, it was an interesting day at the bank, so hopefully enough people are listening because it's coming down the wire. I was in the bank today, and it's no secret I was in the Bank of Montreal as well as Scotia, just to do some banking for the the beginning of the month. And it's interesting. I actually sat down with a friend of mine, and he's a loan officer there and does mortgages. They call themselves, I guess, mortgage strategist, or anyways, something to that degree. Anyways, a mortgage advisor, and he basically let me know that Bank of Montreal is changing their 5-year smart fix product, and it's basically going up as of tomorrow. It's going to be between 10 and 20 basis points, and that's 25-year amortization. Obviously, 5-year fixed is going up 10 to 20 basis points as of tomorrow.
And what's that going to put the rate at?
Well, it all depends on the individual. The lowest you're going to see it is probably I would imagine 3.4 to 3.5. Maybe 3.39 as a very best rate, but upwards of I guess it's going to be between 3.39 and 3.49, depending on where they kind of sort of go with things.
Wow. So from those those lower interest rates, they're going to start. I see rates going even higher than that over time. They need another 3-4 rate hikes to put everything in. Remember, our GDP depends on rates going up, right?
That's very true. And keep in mind, these are very attractive rates. And this is, I was told, the banks, in terms of the being A-list lenders or A lenders, they're only taking the very best of the market. They're not taking on any risk. He's basically seen loans be turned down on the basis of too much credit utilization. In other words, if somebody has a $10,000 credit card and they're basically spending $6,000-7,000 every month, or constantly keeping a $8,000 balance, or has it maxed out and just merely paying the minimum payment off, and their credit utilization is upwards of 70, 80, 90% of what their total max credit allowance is, because that naturally is credit utilization in a nutshell. They're denying those loans. Credit utilization should, in a perfect world, should be under 30%. They say 35%. I played with the math in terms of the algorithms for both TransUnion as well
35% total debt service ratio is healthy. 45% is the max. And
43, 45, yeah.
I usually say 45% because you remember, like, especially if you're dealing with a carpenter or somebody in a skilled trade that makes a lot of cash side jobs. And usually the underwriter could overlook that and do a 45% loan to value total debt service ratio. It's kind of in a gray area, but they sometimes allow it because they know they do some side jobs here and there, right? So,
That's true, but at the same point in time, times have changed, and they're on the basis that any and all income that one makes, whether he's a carpenter, plumber, school teacher, whatever it may be, any additional money that they may make outside, even if it's by way of legal tender, being cash, like cash, they should be reporting it. Therefore, they have to go off their line 150. But you're right, in the past they have done that. They've kind of drifted into that gray area. But I've been told in the last 2 or 3 years, they're not doing that anymore.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So
but that's an A lender. I don't know what these B lenders do, so on and so forth. It's.
I am trying to find right now as you're speaking, I'm trying to find a TDS calculator. I'm trying to find a live TDS calculator and to see if there's a calculator out there so people could find and calculate their own TDS at home. And
it's funny, that actually came up in conversation today with the mortgage guy, and he said, I can get you upwards of 40%. And I said, that's pretty steep. And I'm not going to go into particulars of what he said I was approved for or lack thereof or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually very interesting. I told him, I said, your total debt service ratio and everything else. I said, that's all bull. And he says, no, it's very true. We use that every day. I said, it can't possibly be accurate. And he says, why? I said, because you're not using after-tax income. That's how people pay their mortgage.
Well, Steve. That was the one thing, Steve. When I was in the financial industry, I didn't understand why we took someone's gross payment, even though they didn't get all that money. When someone takes someone's pay stub to actually calculate their total debt service ratio, I couldn't believe how much how we would take how the gross payment was necessary to be taken, even though you don't have.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny how they use the total debt service ratio not to be confused with total credit utilization.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. That someone said that in the comment section. Sorry, total credit utilization.
Okay, I'm not even in the comment section. I should get in there.
Yeah.
So anyways, long story made short, that's how they're kind of looking at things. They're turning a lot of business away. A lot of deals are not coming to fruition upon closing because the appraisers are going out and they're being very, very cautious on where things are going to be because the bank knows what's going on. The bank basically, as of tomorrow, in essence, is raising their 5-year fixed rate by, basically 10 to 20 points. All other banks will follow suit within the next 24 to 48 hours from what, usually happens historically. Simply due to the fact that that's giving the banks about 5 days, max 6 days, a good 5 days before the rate hike. So that rate hike is pretty much cemented and solidified for July 11th if they're already anticipating they are going to raise their rates.
So this is what you've been told, or what you're seeing when you went to, or what you've been told. Have you been? I guess because they're raising rates already, they're already taking the notion that rates will go up, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
But the problem is, can I ask for your opinion on one thing? Are we raising interest rates too late?
Are we raising interest rates too late?
Yeah.
That's a catch-22 because they gave rates back. They cut rates. I believe it was in 2015, and he should have never done that. So he's only taking back what he gave in the first place in 2015 before things went absolutely insane.
Oh, okay. So because the United States has been raising rates a lot earlier than we have, and I think because of that aggregative push, I think that it's going to cushion the U.S. if it does go into a recession mode.
Sorry, say that again, Mike?
I'm thinking that if the U.S. does go into recession mode, because they raised interest rates a lot earlier, and they were on the ball just a little bit quicker, and the Fed's pulling out of the stock market a little bit more, I'm thinking that this might cushion recession in the United States if they do get hit by one, because they raised rates a lot earlier and they kind of prepared for it, where Canada didn't.
Well, I think the U.S., they've learned their lesson to a certain degree. However, things are starting again. They're going back to their old ways. They're just labeling it a different thing. And I've spoken to a lot of people in the U.S., and they're saying the same thing that I'm telling you. Is it true? I don't know. I guess we'll find out sooner rather than later. That said, you're absolutely right. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to control the spending. They're trying to control the irrational exuberance and whatnot that Canada should have done. But in 2015, they made a big mistake. By 2016, things were starting to go nuts. By 2017, things were just absolutely so distorted. It wasn't even funny. And you can blame that on foreign investment. You can blame that on, local speculation. And then you can also blame that on people that, had the fear of missing out, for lack of a better term. But yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay. But the problem is, Steve, the problem that I'm seeing is that one major problem actually, is that we had nothing in place to protect the Canadian proper from foreign investment. Because we are a free trade or free market country, people came in and bought what they could, parked their money in our real estate. Now the Canadian proper is totally bought out, and the ones that are fear of buying out bought in at the wrong time. And a lot of it stems to not having the proper provisions into place to protect the sovereignty of the country, because it's getting so bad that everyone's leaving their cities and they're moving into interiors now, and it's a gumshoe of a mess because, who do you blame? Everyone is the great 2018 summer blame game. Do you blame the foreign investors? Do you blame the government for not putting policies into place? Do you blame the banks for not actually having proper books and actually putting proper loans on the books? Do you blame the underwriters for approving the deals? Do you blame the CEO of the bank for allowing this garbage? What happened, Steve? What's going to happen in the big picture right now? Rates going up. What's going to happen?
Well, I think you said it earlier in the show that it's the working class or the working poor that's mainly going to be affected, and we can point fingers six ways to Sunday, from organized real estate, who's a major player from this complete cluster, to banks, basically going ahead and saying, yeah, Mike, yes, you're approved, and you only need $700,000 or $800,000, but you're approved for 1.2. So what happened? Oh, 1.2. Okay, well, I only needed 7 or 8. But you know what? Now I know I can shop for a million to $1.2 million house, and hey, they're going to give it to me. It's cheap. Okay, so I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid and blow my brains out.
Okay, but Steve, can I correct you for 1 second?
Yeah.
1.2 million for an average house.
I'm talking about total mortgage. I wasn't making reference to the.
I'm joking. I'm joking. Not a plantation.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Not a plantation. Not a farm. Not an estate. Not a manor. Not a mansion. Not an average house. And that's what people were banking on, hoping that the prices will keep going up. And that is the biggest mistake. Timing the market is the biggest mistake you could ever make. And
absolutely. You're basically, for 1.2 million in a decent area in Toronto, you're basically getting a home that's built in late 60s, early 70s, and it needs a lot of work. We're talking about clay pipes. We're talking about aluminum wiring, next to nothing in terms of insulation in the walls. A very inefficient HVAC system from a ductwork standpoint. The list goes on and on and on.
Yeah. People are walking into nightmares is what it is. Okay, Steve, I got this Canadian Mortgage Advisor calculator up right here. Let's fill it out together. And I'll ask the questions and I'll fill it out. What do you think is the average gross income for the average Canadian or Toronto? Let's stick with Toronto today.
Okay, but let's hang on a second. Are we talking about combined household income?
Yeah, let's do combined.
Okay, that's fine.
Average.
Average. So let's say the average person, and we'll be generous with this, is making approximately $60,000 a year.
60 large? Okay.
Yep, 60 large for Toronto.
Okay. Interest rate.
Put it in as 120K.
120 large? Okay, that's being
120 large.
that's being very conservative and very, very, very. Okay, now interest rates.
5-year fixed rate, going at 3.5, just for shits and giggles.
3.5 points.
Yeah.
Amortization 25, you said? Okay, mortgage payment on that. What's the mortgage payment with that? Let's go off the $1.2 million house, okay, Steve? Let's go off the $1.2 million house, like you said earlier, because that was the number I heard a lot. So what is the payment on a $1.2 million house? $3,700 a month? Is that right?
No, it would be more than that, and 120 large a year combined household income would not get you a $1.2 million.
But a lot
house, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
A lot of these people jumped into these homes, right?
Yeah, okay, so you know what, at the end of the day, let's just say, for argument's sake, you're making 120 large combined. Mr. and Mrs. Smith is making 120 large a year, and they got 20% down, so they're going to take $1 million mortgage.
Okay. So you're looking at about $3,800 a month.
Okay, yeah. So $1 million is roughly between 38 to 39. I would say 38 to $4,000, depending on absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So $3,800 a month. Okay. And then what are we looking at for taxes, Steve? Roughly in Toronto, I know they're high. So you're paying so
taxes on $1 million home. And make no mistake, the taxes change once you acquire that $1 million home, because that person could be owning that house for 10, 15 years, and they may have bought that house for $600,000, $500,000.
Yeah.
So let's just go on the basis that taxes on $1 million home is going to be roughly, let's be conservative, $6,000 a year.
So that's what, 300? Well, how much is that per month? Holy crap, that's a lot of money. That's like how much is that per month? That's like $700 a month. No.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure.
Okay, $600 a month. Okay, $600 a month. And then we'll remove the condo fees to zero.
Yep.
Heat, gas, and oil, 120 sound okay to you?
No, I would not say 120. I would say if you were on equal billing, you'd probably be closer of upwards of about 150 to 170. But yeah, go in at 150.
Okay, 150. Okay. 150. Okay, we're moving on. Home insurance. I put 122 a month.
122 a month. I would say it would be. Leave it at 120. 120, 125. Sure, why not?
Okay, and then student loan payments. So if they're getting $60,000 a year each, they definitely have student loans. So I put $230 a month. Is that conservative enough, or does it have to be higher?
Student loans?
Yeah.
You know what? Just put in $200.
Okay, I'll put in $300. And then other loans.
The market is red hot in Toronto. Trust me, $1 million and under is an absolute steal. Jeez, buddy, what are you smoking?
Oh, someone in the comment section. Okay, let's see. You sound like a desperate cold calling real estate agent. Frank, you sound like Frank 500. Heard the average real estate agent gets paid only like $36,000 a year, so they have to get second jobs. I'm not an agent.
Yeah, a lot of them have two jobs now because they're not selling anything.
Yeah.
Because the market is quite hot in Toronto. The only thing that's moving in Toronto is boxes in the sky because that's all that people can afford.
Cheapest inventory. Remember, Steve? That's what happened in Vancouver. When the foreign buyers tax went in, everyone jumped on cheaper units, and then that went on fire.
Absolutely. And Frank, I'm not a cold calling real estate agent. I would never be a glorified used car salesman.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to here. So total results. Remaining mortgage payment allowed, $1,000. So basically he can add more to his mortgage payments. negative $1,498. Total mortgage payment allowed would be $2,302. So basically this family, is already underwater by $1,498 because they're short. Total mortgage amount allowed, $461,000.
Yep, absolutely.
And then the GDS ratio, 46.97. Allowable payment, $3,200. Current payment, $4,697. That's everything. Okay, here's your TDS, 54.23%.
Absolutely. Now, what did you say? What did you say that the max they were qualified for is 400 and what?
461,000.
Okay, so in the beginning we were on the basis that they were going to put 20% down. They had 200K, so 200K plus 460, that brings you up to 660. That's what condos are going for right now, because that is the only thing that people can afford in Toronto. And I don't care how successful Frank I is or anybody else, so on and so forth, in terms of, you being, a successful investor, prices will never go down. You know what? I guess you don't own a television. I guess you haven't read articles. Prices have gone down. Prices are continuing to go down. And tomorrow, guess what? Ladies and gentlemen, today we got Vancouver Real Estate Board's numbers. Tomorrow, we get Toronto's numbers.
Yep.
And you know what? They're going to compare them to 2017. You know what? Compare them to 2016, and then you're going to see that house prices are down, or sales are down by probably 50% or more.
Yeah, I already read that article. So this calculator that I got, guys, it's really good. It's a TDS calculator. It's called Canadian Mortgage Advisor, and helping GTA homeowners find mortgages that are right for them. So this breaks it down and actually tells you your GDS, your TDS, and tells you what your allowable payments are and what your current payment should be, and it tells you what your TDS is, what your current payment is, what your allowable payment is, and it goes into everything. So it's a really nice thing that these tools exist for people. They should start utilizing these tools to understand, to give them a better blueprint on where they stand financially, because getting into a mortgage is an absolute nightmare if you don't know what you're getting into. And the sad part is, Steve, is a lot of these people are trusting their bankers, they're trusting their banks, they're trusting their real estate agents, they're putting trust into these people. In the reality, it's like they're doing worse off to these people.
Yeah, they're doing a disservice to these people. Absolutely, 100%. And it's funny, we have a realtor on CP24, which is a local 24-hour news station in Toronto.
Yeah.
And I'm not even. I can't believe I'm going to plug this guy, Al Sinclair. He is by far the most slimiest guy you will ever see on television that represents organized real estate. And he's in for a rude awakening because he told everybody on his show last Thursday that interest rates aren't going up. Prices of houses are still going to go up. He's basing it on, immigration, so on and so forth, all these just ad hoc, just complete bull. And he's going to have to eat his words. But the funny thing is, he pays to be on that show, Hot Property. And, it just kills me how much business he gets from there. And he is by far someone who you never, ever want to do business with.
Well, here it is, Steve. He's banking off this article from the CBC. So right now, what's happening in the U.S. and Canada, well, mainly Canada. Canada's been at it for a while. This article from CBC is the nail in the coffin for the housing industry, whether it makes or breaks the housing industry or makes or breaks our economy. And the article states, Canada wants more Chinese workers, students, and tourists, immigration minister says. So Canada right now is pushing, on the article, it says here, this is from 2016, is pushing 500,000 people per year. Opening more visa offices can help Canada compete for Chinese workers, students, and lucrative tourist business. So what Canada's trying to do is trying to fast track more people from China to come in to help make up the deficit loss of us not being able to afford anything. You get what I'm saying? And
absolutely.
And this is what this guy is banking on. So the guy at the real estate show is banking on this. hopefully, because they're pushing it now to over 800,000 per year, and they want to fast track more Chinese to move into Canada, more lucrative millionaires to come in and basically park their money here. And that's why birth tourism right now in BC is a big thing, where like lots of hospitals are birth tourism is a travel to another country for the purpose of giving birth in that country. An anchor baby is another related term which can have negative connotations. The main reason for birth tourism is to obtain citizenship for the child in a country with birthright citizenship. So that's what's happening in Canada. So why women are coming to Canada just to give birth. There's thousands of articles of a lot of women from China coming in to BC. And there's a lot of women sitting waiting. Popular destination to give birth in. So here it is, birth tourism from China, booming business in BC. So that's it, Steve. That's what they're looking to do. That's the angle they're working. This angle right here. You know, wanting more Chinese to come in, wanting more to make up that deficit. You know what I'm saying, Steve? The deficit of that middle class spending that's disappeared because the middle class no longer could afford to buy food anymore. So it's getting to a point where they have to start bringing in the rich to actually start creating a huge divide.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree. Mike, could you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Could you go on BNN, and I want you to pull the article.
Yeah, what's it called?
It's RBC.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do this right now with you. So, BNN. I'm going through here. Where are we here?
Let's see what happens. RBC, BNN.
Here we go. So go to real estate.
Real estate.
And you want rising interest rates taking a bite out of housing affordability.
I got it. It's July 3rd. I got it. Rising interest rates taking a bite out of housing affordability, says RBC. That's Royal Bank of Canada, not RBA. Some people get confused with Royal Bank of Australia. Let's play this little video here and see what she has to say here.
Average family looking to buy a home in Vancouver will have to spend more than 87% of their total household income to buy and maintain that home. That is double the percentage for a city like Calgary, just one province over. And a new report from RBC says expected interest rate hikes from the Bank of Canada will make housing less affordable across the country. Here to discuss that report and his outlook for housing is Robert Hogue. He's senior economist at RBC. Robert, great to have you here.
Well, good afternoon.
Why don't we start with what you say about Vancouver? You call the situation there, you say it's at crisis levels, which is obviously very alarming language to be sure. Do you see, in terms of housing affordability, things getting worse before they get better?
Yeah, and that's a very discouraging part of our report, in the sense that it is the case that Vancouver, I mean, it's been the case for a long time that Vancouver has been an unaffordable market. But the fact that in the first quarter of this year, it achieved the worst affordable level ever for any market across Canada, ever since RBC has produced this affordability report in the middle of the 1980s. But considering that we expect that interest rates are going to keep moving up over in the near future, and the prospects for any improvement in Vancouver is unfortunately quite dim.
And I quoted the share of income required for Vancouver. It's 87.8%, but it's really not that much better here in Toronto.
No, and Toronto is also on that scale the second worst in terms of affordability across Canada. That's not a new story either. But at least in Toronto, there's 2 consecutive quarters that we saw a little bit of an improvement, although we don't think that's going to be that it's going to last very long. But nonetheless, a little bit of an improvement in the first quarter of this year.
And what is the picture like outside of these two hot markets? They've been hot for a long time. What about a place like Montreal? Are we seeing signs of stress there too?
Very far from Vancouver and Toronto in terms of the level of unaffordability. Montreal is still, I would consider as near historical norms, so it doesn't look out of line relative to where it's been in the past, although it's been our affordability has deteriorated over the last couple of years, and maybe if it continues to deteriorate over the next little while, we might be starting to talk about some issues. At this stage in Montreal, it's still very much a single detached home kind of story. Affordability.
All right, it's enough. I can tell that guy speaks French. All right, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. So the long and short of it is, that economist basically said, and it's right in the article, he says, our view is that the Bank of Canada will proceed with a series of rate hikes that will raise its overnight rate from 1.25% currently to 2.25% in the first half of 2019. This would have the potential to stress housing affordability significantly.
Oh yeah, it'll put I think 40% of mortgages underwater, or 40% of 40% of people underwater. If they 40% of people that bought from 2016 and up. Okay, let me be more clear with that.
Absolutely. So I mean, people, and I don't want to pick on Frank I, but many people such as himself are over leveraged, or so it would appear. And many people have this misconception that interest rates are not going to go up and they're going to stay. If anything, they're going to go negative. No, they're not going to go negative, because if they were ever to go negative, its economy would merely implode on itself.
That's
overnight.
Right. And hyperinflation will kick in really good.
Absolutely. Right now, the amount of money that is flowing from Canada to the U.S. is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Oh yeah, I heard that. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Right now, the CRA, they're basically, from what I've been told by my accountant, the number's 4 billion, B for billion, that they're trying to, or what they estimate. They don't have enough staff to recover it, but that's the amount of money that, in terms of tax revenue, that they are not collecting because of the amount of money that's leaving for the U.S.
What's happening is people are parking their money. Canadians are parking their money in the U.S. because, one, it could hedge against our falling loonie. Two, it's a lot safer haven right now, because on paper, when you start looking at the bond market and you start looking at where things are headed in the next quarter, I think it's a smart move to move funds into the U.S. It doesn't necessarily, people watching, it doesn't necessarily have to be. It doesn't have to be money. You could move. You could also buy stocks through the NYSE, New York Stock Exchange. You could buy stocks in the United States and still considered U.S. funds, because you have to convert your money through your investment account into U.S. dollars. So that's another easy way to do it without having to open a U.S. bank account. So without going through all that, you could just transfer your investment funds into U.S. dollars from your Canadian, and then you could even buy some stock or just leave it sitting in your U.S. U.S. investment account. It's the easiest way to do it. So continue, Steve.
Yeah. Anyways, long story made short, I was just replying to Frank I, in terms of him saying, trust me, banks are very good and would not have given mortgages to those who couldn't afford them. Well, Frank, BMO, as well as a few other lenders, they've already packaged up their crap loans. And I said this in the comments section, and I don't, want to repeat it again, but I'm kind of sort of forced to, just to go with the flow here. They've sold those loans and gotten them off the books for good reason. And just now, as of more recently, they're picking and choosing who they are taking on as clients in terms of mortgages, from how much skin they have in the game to what their total debt service ratio is, to their credit scores, their employment. It makes a huge difference. If you're self-employed versus, being a healthcare worker or a teacher, healthcare workers and teachers, they love those types of people.
You know what, Steve? It just dawned on me as you were talking. I am extremely grateful I bought my house free and clear almost 2 years ago, a year and a half. I'm very grateful I paid what I paid for my house, and looking at where things are headed, I don't care. A lot of people worry. Oh, Mike, what if your house goes down to 100,000? I don't care. You know why? It's because I'm not hanging on to any mortgages. I'm not hanging on to any debt, right? So, it's almost like a godsend in a way when you think about it. Where, wait a minute, I don't care if my house goes to 100 grand. I don't owe anything for it. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people forget that. A lot of people were making fun of me in the comment section when I was showing my house. When I was walking through my house the other day, they're like, "Oh, you're a loser." I'm like, "No, I paid next to nothing for my house. I paid $260 for it, and you know what I mean, right? It's a big house, right? So I got a good bang for my buck." And a lot of people laughing at me. "Oh yeah, if rates go up, it will affect you." I'm like, "No, it's not. I don't know anything on it. Who cares?" You know what I'm saying?
Yep, for sure. It's absolutely crazy. You're in such a good position right now that many people would kill to be in. You have no debt, Mike. And as much as we've spoken, and your credit score, isn't one that has a bunch of credit cards and pays them off religiously, so on and so forth. You have to look at your net worth and what your exposure is for you to basically become insolvent. And quite frankly, your risk is probably less than 2%.
Yeah. Like, even if I got sick, or God forbid I couldn't go to work or go to my shop anymore or something, I'll still be fine for a long time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, I mean, you've done everything right, and you've set yourself up in a good spot, and you're able to live your life, enjoy your family, and do what you need to do. I think Hugh Jazz, TD, HSBC, CIBC. In terms of selling the bad loans, so BMO did that. I'm not sure about TD or HSBC, but I think CIBC really got a lot of things off their books, because CIBC, believe it or not, has, I think they are number one in terms of total amount of skin in the game in terms of private mortgages. RBC from a combined private, in terms of private residential mortgages and commercial mortgages, they lead the way. Definitely not by example, but they lead the way. But I think CIBC sold a lot of crap off their books. BMO did as well. It's no secret. It's mortgage-backed securities.
I'm looking for private mortgage ranking here.
Yeah, absolutely. And PC Financial, I guess they were in a little bit of trouble, and they were actually using CIBC as their outfit. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, I'm almost positive that PC Financial is now hooked up with Tangerine. Are they not? I heard something on because it was on. I think it was on Bloomberg. They had a segment about that. I wasn't paying too much attention. I heard they were in talks for it. I'm not sure if it's gone through yet. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sure, because I know Tangerine was ING Direct, Save Your Money, right?
Yeah. Well, ING is now Tangerine.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. Through Bloomberg, I was hearing something about some sort of a merge or some acquisition, but I don't know if it's gone through. So that's still
Yeah, I know that the OSC was in there and doing a few things and whatnot. So I'm not sure about that. I'm sorry. Hugh Jazz, I don't have enough information on that to comment, but I'll see what I can find, and I'll talk to my circle and get back to you on that one through the show at a different date. But just to give you a heads up in the area of Toronto. We're seeing a lot of homes that are north of $2 million. The $2 and $3 million homes. I know that I know somebody very, very well that they tried to sell a year ago, and they basically got I think it was close to I think they almost got 2.9 million, and they refused it. They put their house on the market, and it was on the market for about 4.5 months, and they went ahead and just sold it for 2.1 or just shy of 2.1 million dollars. Yeah, it's a lot to swallow.
I'm on MLS right now looking at listings, and let's see what they got here in Toronto area. And the M6B. M6B is like right in the middle. So let's see what M6B gives us for a postal code. Okay, let's see what we got here. I'm not seeing anything here. Oh, here we go. 2-bedroom, 3-bathroom house, $1 million. 1.1 million, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Wow. Let's look at this one. $1 million Remax. $1 million. 2-bedroom, 3-bath. Little bungalow with a little bit of a backyard and parking for 2 cars. 2 bedrooms, 3 baths. What's the square footage of this damn thing? It doesn't even have the square footage. It just has the land size. 25 by 100 feet is the land size. Wow, that's ludicrous for that house. Like, I mean, I'm looking at pictures that it's nothing special. Oh, there's a townhome for 1.2, or duplex, 1.2 million for the one house, one side. I'm looking at here, lots of stuff from Royal LePage, $1 million, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Holy smokes. 1,028,000. It's not even giving you the square footage on this, Steve. It's just giving you the land size. It's not even giving you the size of the house. It's giving you land size.
Really?
On MLS.
Interesting.
I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at this one here, 1.28 million. It gives you the property type, community name, title, house, stories, land size, but it doesn't give you any measurements of the house. Then it breaks down every room by meters now. There's no, and it doesn't give you a total dimension of the house. Unless I'm severely blind. No, it's not here. Doesn't even tell you the square foots of the house. Yeah. So,
interesting.
Yeah, people are paying a lot of money for these homes, Steve. Let's look at East York. Wow, it's just like, wow, 3 and 2 bedrooms for over $1 million, Steve. Remember what $1 million bought you 25 years ago?
I can just imagine.
All right, let's move out somewhere here. Let's go to, people keep talking about Saskatoon, Moose Jaw. Let's move out here. Let's change our pricing to that, update. So let's find something here for a big price range. Here we go. Just outside of Moose Jaw, you could pick up a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, pretty much the same house, $84,900. And this one comes with a lot of land. Yeah. Let me just check here outside of Swift Current. Swift Current's nice. I've been there. 65 grand, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. If you want something really nice, it's going to cost you 90,000. That's why the average Canadian home price is low, because of all these other homes that are under pretty much 100,000 is bringing down the national average, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I'll actually share something with you because a friend of mine brought me in here to take a look at this property because he was actually seriously considering it. Mike, I'm going to give you an MLS number, and I'd like you to punch it in and pull up this listing. It's in North York.
Okay, give me...
And
yep. Yeah.
415
Yeah.
6975.
Here it is. 4 bedroom, 6 bath.
Yeah, $1,288,000. Frank, guy, you should go buy this house. Okay, I'm telling you right now, you should go buy this house. So this builder is in so much trouble. It's not even funny. This house is probably going to be foreclosed upon very, very, very shortly.
Wow.
They're desperately trying to do this. They've been trying to build this house for approximately, I would say about 18 months. They've overbuilt it. It's too bad the Lost Canuck's not in the comment section because he would love this. They've overbuilt this house, and when I say overbuilt it, they've had to apply for variances to the city. They went for, statement of adjustments, all denied, to the point where they had to cover up windows. They poured the foundation too large. They had to take half a quarter of the house of the back wall and bring it inwards. So they have a foundation that there's nothing on it. They had to redo the roof truss and everything else.
Oh, I see that right here at the back.
At the back. So you see that open there? That used to be the house where the stairs go out.
Okay. I see what you're talking about.
So this property, they can't sell it because the drawings are poofard. Okay, and they have to get new drawings. A portion of the foundation is going to have to be removed. They're going to have to re-pour the foundation, or what they're attempting to do is build the foundation with the block wall. Okay, they had to take out the HVAC. That's why you see all that tin there. It's an absolute disaster. Okay, so what's happening here is the house. It would actually be more advantageous, okay, for somebody to go buy the same lot with an old bungalow on it. It would cost you $30,000 to $50,000 to demolish the bungalow in terms of your labor and disposal costs. And lots in and around that area, and I have, the documentation to support it, are going between $1 million and $1.1 million, or were going in January. Those lots have now come down in value, and I believe the last current one sold for $1,038,000. So he's trying to recover his foundation costs, his raw materials in order to frame the house, put a roof on it, and it's a complete disaster.
Wow.
And it's still not selling. And the bank, I know for a fact, through my channels, I've been told the bank is now going to probably secure their position.
Wow. That's so sad, man. It's so, people jumped in head first, didn't look at what's happening in the markets, didn't know that they were being, snookered. A lot of them were being snookered. And I think a lot of builders knew this going into it, but they just wanted to maybe pull the wool over somebody else, I guess. Is that maybe what it could be?
I don't think this builder knew exactly what he was doing. I think there's reason to believe that he wasn't a very experienced builder. He put too many windows on the side of the house. He had to block them up. Anybody who knows anything about construction, just from the site photos and hearing me talk, you can actually see that windows have been covered up. They were framed. Windows were taken out. For God's sakes, the windows are still on site. I went through it. They're still in these site photos on the Realtor.ca, and you can see where they've covered windows.
Wow. Yeah, I saw that. I was going through that, and I showed. But here, see, in parts of Alberta, you can still pick up. There's a lot of homes you could pick up, freeholds, non trailers for under $100,000, 89, 91, 92,000. You can still pick up a decent sized home in just outside of Calgary for just under $100,000.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, Calgary, believe it or not, is a good buy right now.
Oh yeah, Calgary for sure.
Yeah, it still could go down a bit, but Calgary's pricing is very, much so dictated, and it depends on where oil's at, right?
Yeah. You know, one place
So-
one place I've been looking to buy for myself would be in Medicine Hat.
Yeah, I don't know the market out that way. That's only because it's, I'm not in the market there. But, I hear, there's some great places out that way that you can get, and some really, really nice houses.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at a couple of houses here in Medicine Hat, like a 4 or 5 bedroom, 2 bath, on a big piece of land for like 130 grand, 140.
Really?
Yeah, and Medicine Hat's going up. It's going up. You got to believe me, it's going up. I think it's going to be the next big city in Calgary is Medicine Hat. Right now they
No
have.
doubt. I mean,
Right now they have
Go ahead, what were you gonna say?
620 properties on the market for sale right now.
and any idea what the GTA has?
Oh, I read it earlier. What was it? What was it? Do you remember, Steve?
I don't remember what you read before, but let's just put it this way: there is a lot of real
Okay,
estate.
so Toronto proper 12,932, Golden Horseshoe 6,420, Kitchener Waterloo 3,757.
And
And
that
then
number is going to jump in Kitchener Waterloo because of all that mass layoffs. 700 jobs were cut from or are going to be cut from Manulife there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I remember that. I remember that article. I read that article. Look at this. It's so Steve. I don't know what to tell you, man. Things are getting. Montreal's got quite a few on their radar there. 16,000 for sale in Montreal. 16,000 units on the market right now. But
So
yeah.
I believe it.
Oh, look at Chatham, Ontario is going up there too. Chatham, Ontario.
Yeah, London, Chatham, Windsor, Sarnia. They're still building out there. A lot of people are leaving the GTA because you can basically get a nice, big, beautiful home for $300,000 or $400,000. You can get a crazy home for about $450,000, $500,000 grand. But good luck ever having to sell it because homes over about $400,000. I know for a fact in Windsor don't. I think it was either $400,000 or $450,000. They don't sell.
Yeah.
They don't sell very well. It takes quite a long time to do so.
Yeah, probably time on the market, probably 180 plus days, right?
Yeah, I would imagine. At least you're 90 to 120 as a bare minimum once you get over 450, because it basically boils down to affordability.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is that's what we're seeing in Toronto right now, and we're seeing that in Vancouver as well. But I can only speak for Toronto. Toronto is seeing an astronomical amount of erosion in affordability, and it's not just the stress test. It's overall house prices are way too high, and even though that we are currently going through a correction and house prices will continue to decline, including sales.
Well, but they said 74% of the average income goes towards paying housing expenses.
Yeah, so that should actually tell you, or at least it tells me, the current state and condition of the economy. Simply to the fact that 74% is going towards paying bills, so on and so forth. What's the economy actually doing? The economy is receding. The credit, the credit market and the cycle is retracting. It's receding. The tides, the tides rolling out, rolling in, whichever way you want to call it. And we're about to see. We're about to see some crazy things happen with respect to housing being, with respect to it being an asset class. There's, we're in for a mean reversion period. There's going to be some write-downs and some write-offs, some bankruptcies and foreclosures and power sales, whichever way you want to call it. It's all happening now. And the banks kind of price this in. If you read articles from, 2015, 2016, the articles were there, and the numbers are readily available. Banks were putting a certain amount of money aside. They weren't very conservative with it, in my opinion, but they were putting money aside for when the poop hits the fan.
You know what the smart banks did? They bought gold.
That's very true.
The smart banks picked up a lot of gold. Anyways, guys, we're going into our second hour here, and we're going to cut it down because I'm tired. And Steve, I know you probably got to go to work tomorrow. But anyways, before I leave you guys, I got an MLS here you guys need to check out. It's in Norland, Ontario. 3-bedroom, 3-bath. It's a house, but it's like a cottage, but it is a house. And they're asking $52,000 for it. 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 3-bath, $52,000. Single family house, and it's got lots going on here. I just wanted to leave this with you guys to check out. MLS number is where is it? MLS number. Where'd you go? This might not be 126132. Check it out. It doesn't look that bad for what you're getting. But you got to go look for deals, and you got to get out of the city if you want to make it count. Any last words, Steve?
You know what? Everybody better buckle up. It's going to be one wild ride. July 11th is around the corner, and we're going to see a rate hike here. And like we said, by 2019, they're expecting things to a full 1% rate increase, and I think we're going to see a lot of people start to react now with this upcoming rate hike. I guess just hold on to your hat. It's going to be one wild ride, and like I said, I think it's definitely going to. Everything's going to come out in the wash, Mike, and it's going to end badly for a lot of people.
Yep.
And I hate saying that, but it's going to end badly for a lot of people and end in tears. And people are already starting to lose their homes. Mario DeSantis, is pretty much right on the money in terms of people not going to be able to, close on these new builds and whatnot because they're not going to be able to get financing. It's an unfortunate set of circumstances. I also see the unemployment rate spiking a bit, and this is all contingent on how bad things are going to get with the tariffs. And we'll see what the U.S. election has to say. But I know that it was on BNN today, or I believe it was yesterday. They had said they put something on about Trump. And I think he's actually crazy enough to put tariffs on autos. And at that point, there's nothing we can do. It doesn't matter how many rate hikes we have, how many rate cuts we have. We immediately would be in a recession, and everything would just be everything would go to shit. Absolutely everything.
Yep. And Trump isn't playing around. You want to go to trade wars with Trump? He's ready to go to bat. And you know what? Trump isn't bluffing, and that's the problem.
Absolutely. Well, our ex-prime minister is going down to try to smooth things over with his his buddies down there and whatnot. Because let's face it, regrettably, we have a very unqualified prime minister, and I don't want to get political on anybody. But he doesn't know how to deal with a master negotiator, as people are calling him, and that's Donald Trump. He just can't get it done. I mean, you don't.
Steve, have you read the Art of the Deal?
I'm sorry, you cut out there. What was that, Mike?
Have you read The Art of the Deal?
No, I have not.
That's one of the first books I've ever read, business books I read. I think it was in grade 11 when I read that book, and I still have it. And it's signed by Donald Trump.
taken it too far, and a lot of people are starting to realize. And if he goes any crazier than he already is, it's really going to affect the U.S. economy. We can handle the steel tariffs and all that other stuff, but what we can't handle is the tariffs on autos.
Yeah.
This was done before. This was tried once before in terms of the tariffs and everything else, and it didn't work. Everybody lost. It's a lose-lose situation, and it's not good for anybody. We'll have to wait and see how things play out, but this is not going to stop the economic downturn that's happening within Canada, especially with respect to the largest contributor to our GDP, and that's basically real estate as a whole, I should say. Now,
that was the biggest mistake, tying our GDP to real estate. What the hell is that? They turned a investment into commodity. Like, why?
Well, it's because we have nothing else.
Yeah, we don't export. We're not doing like we're not doing things that we did in 30 years ago. Like the Red Path Sugar Factory. We used to export so much sugar and produce. We used to do honeybee factory in Ontario closed. All those big companies I remember growing up, all those ones that were hiring and stuff, they're all gone now. They're all abandoned. All these factories, All the
they're gone.
breweries, all the breweries that were there are all gone.
Yeah, everything's gone. I mean, for God's sakes, Campbell's Soup got up and left. And they're gone, and so many other things are going as well. I have reason to believe the next thing that's going to pull out is Cisco Foods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I heard about that. And there's something about Loblaws too.
Yeah, there's some crazy things going on with that. I mean, he'll probably he'll probably end up selling that empire to somebody in just outright in the U.S. and whatnot. Trump's open for business. He wants everybody and anyone that can make America great again, and it's not necessarily a bad thing what he's doing, but we'll see how far he takes this, and we'll see how crazy things get. It really just depends. As it sits right now, the Bank of Canada is not going to make their decision to hike rates or not hike rates on the basis of what if.
Okay.
They're not, and it came out of his mind, right out of his mouth, Stephen Polis. They're not taking headlines and media for face value. They don't care. They're doing it on sold data.
That's the raw data. They're not Mickey Mousing it, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. I mean, he's got job reports. He's got growth in terms of income. He's got business reports in terms of business investment. He's got a number of different things. And the worst thing that organized real estate could actually do, and they're going to do it tomorrow, mark my words, they're going to massage those numbers to appear that everything is fine, rainbows and unicorns, and that's the worst thing that they could actually do, because all that does is just make the last dying breed go ahead and continue to take on debt and acquire these overpriced properties in terms of asset class.
Okay.
And
it's
not good.
But like I said, they're gonna try and bring in more investors, more rich investors, lucrative investors, to park their money here, to keep the Ponzi scheme going for a couple of more years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're doing everything and they can, and their power to do so, because they know the market is slow. They know what's going on. It's inevitable, and all they're trying to do is keep the music going. But you know what? That music stopped about a year ago.
Yep. All right, Steve, let's read a couple of headlines here real quick before we get you off the phone. Bloomberg, personal loans surge to a record high. Financial Post, late payments set to rise on Canadians' $599 billion of credit card non-mortgage debt, says Equifax. So this is from the Financial Post. 599 billion of credit card non-mortgage debt. Equifax predicts on late payments. Let's move to the London Times. Is your partner keeping their debts a secret? Let's move on to payments.com. Personal loans are at the fastest growing lending category. Let's go to the UK. UK adults are hiding a collective 69.6 billion pounds of secret debt from their partners. And
wow.
let's move on to The Guardian. Anger as thousands of unaware they face a second mortgage. So lots of people are dipping into second mortgages. Australian news. Almost 1 million households are under mortgage stress. And back to Canada. Why some homeowners will pay more than expected to renew their mortgages. And mortgage defaults decline. This is from Mortgage Professional America. Mortgage defaults decline as economy turns good numbers in the United States. And that's what I wanted to say before we got off the phone. But I wanted to read those headlines for you guys. It's not just happening in Canada. It's happening in Australia and New Zealand and the UK. Every English-speaking country is plagued with this problem. It's the free market. We let in too many people to come in, and now they're buying us out. Steve, any last words again?
No, let's leave it there, Mike. Thanks very much for the chat. It's always a pleasure. You're an awesome guy, and we'll talk real soon.
Yeah.
And, enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you, bud. We'll keep in touch, okay?
Absolutely. Cheers.
Okay, goodbye. So that was Steve, guys. And, so, guys, it's not looking good on the horizon. And I've been talking about this for the last, 5-6 years now. Oh, longer maybe now. Oh, it's been a long time I've been making these videos. And I made a whole show about it. I built my channel off of the gloom and doom that's coming in the housing market, you know? Anyways, guys, comment below. Guys, there's a movie on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, I saw it today. It's been about 30 years since I've seen it. But it was added to Netflix today. Please watch this movie, please, if you haven't seen this movie. It's called Brewster's Millions. It's with John Candy. And one of my favorite actors of all time, comedians, Richard Pryor. Wrong picture. If you haven't seen this movie, it's up on Netflix right now. I really recommend you see this movie. I usually don't do movie recommendation. But when I saw this on Netflix today, I saw it. It was so good. Brewster's Million on Netflix today. Watch it, guys. Good. It actually kind of talks about money and spending. Thanks for watching. Good night, everybody. God bless. Godspeed. And share this. Get this out there. Let's get my channel to grow. Thanks for watching, guys.